But let's talk about the newsmakers. The entire Motown is what is in focus, given the auto sales which came by just yesterday. So let's welcome on board Veejay Nakra. He's the CEO, Automotive Division at M&M. He joins in on the show right now. Veejay, hi. Morning. Good to have you on the show. What's been your assessment of the lead indicators? And does it seem like this demand and uptick will sustain? We were just chatting with the management of Escorts a short while back. They seem very upbeat. Do you share the same kind of enthusiasm?
Yeah, so thank you so much for having me on your show. And yeah, we are very bullish going forward. I think with the challenges that we had in the initial 60 days of lockdown, a lot of that is behind us. Demand is looking strong. And yeah, while there are some challenges of the spread of the pandemic to many parts of the country, which was not there earlier, basis on my discussion with our channel partners, our frontline team, we are bullish, demand is strong, and the month of August has been good, and we are all excited about a good festive season coming up.
Is the larger portion of demand, Vijay, still coming in from rural areas and signature brands like a Bolero, Scorpio? What are the signs that you're picking up from the urban markets as well, if you could highlight that?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think we should, as you aptly said, look at it in two parts. Firstly, rural, and then we'll come to urban. More than 54% of the automotive sales for Mahindra comes from rural markets. And, if you look at the indicators, whether it is, the best monsoon we've had in the last 3 years in terms of the long period average, whether we look at the spread of monsoon, whether we look at the large government spends going into rural, all these, and also, of course, if you look at the sowing of the crop, even the Kharif crop sowing this year is 9% higher compared to the previous year. So these are all positive indicators. And the real measure of that, one can already see that, the tractor industry has bounced back very quickly. I mean, it, only had April as a lean month. And even M&M's tractor business has performed extremely well. So rural is very strong. Bolero, Scorpio, and the Bolero pickup, three of our very strong brands are firing very well in rural India. Demand continues to remain strong. And we are very, very happy with the performance of these brands, including the booking pipeline as we get into, as I said, September and the festive season. Now, talking about urban, I think there is a different set of challenges when it comes to urban India. The last mile, or let's put it this way, people movement is very, very critical. People moving back to their jobs, regular lives, they're all looking for personal mobility. So clearly we are seeing demand come back even in urban India, especially in the larger cities. And that's where XUV 300, which is our, so to say, entry-level SUV product, we are seeing very, very good demand. It is the safest vehicle in the country in the last 6 years. And with price value correction that we've recently done, we are seeing very good traction come back, and especially for gasoline XUV 300 in the larger metro cities. So all in all, I think that's really helped us to bring back positive growth in the month of August, and we are very bullish as we move forward into September.
Do you think you're likely to use words like bullish, demand pickup, optimistic, and excited for rest of the year, or this is just a pent-up demand because of COVID?
It's a little difficult to answer that question, and I think we've been discussing this point for a while. I was asked this question in the month of June. I was asked this question in July, and it's being asked again as we get into September. So, the pent-up demand, in my mind, is something that, to a large extent, has kind of played out between July and August. As I did mention, let's first look at commercial vehicles. If we look at small commercial vehicles and ICVs, we see good demand over there, largely because essential good movement is required, will continue. We know how the role of e-commerce, home delivery of goods, all this is playing out in terms of demand generation. And hence, I clearly believe that this is strong and this is here to stay. When it comes to passenger vehicles, SUVs, again, I think the pent-up demand has kind of played out between August and July, August, and partly we will see that play out in September. But the basic need of people moving back to a normal life, looking at personal mobility in safe and secure personal spaces and environment, I think would be an opportunity that will play out. Also, let's not forget that the larger organizations, corporations, as they open up, people will want to move back to work. They need to move people into their facilities. Everybody may not be able to own personal vehicles. So I believe there also would be a demand that will come up for larger MPVs, SUVs with safe partition spaces made. These are all new opportunities, segments, demands that will play out. So I think maybe the last month or two, we are seeing a much stronger comeback because of a pent-up demand. But I see a trend that demand and growth probably is here to stay.
Okay, so can I safely assume that there will be no discounts, no distress sales, no large freebies this time in and around festival season? Because in 2019, given the stress in the economy, stress in the auto sector, because of competition in the SUV space, auto companies did decide to give a lot of free discounts. Insurance on a motorcycle, free tire on a four-wheeler, a lot of discounts had come out last year.
Yeah, I think I don't see this year being exceptionally higher in terms of freebies and discounts to customers. I think it would probably be normal. That's one. Two, I think there are also a lot of new products that have come into the category, which offer great value to customers at new price points. So I think there is a lot on the table for the consumer to choose from, and it's not necessary right now that it's a distress sale deal that one needs to put on the table.
Okay. What's the outlook for festive season this time, Mr. Nakra? What's the, inventory to demand, how you're looking to boost sale, what the next 3 to 6 months are looking like?
Yeah, one of the challenges, obviously, that still continues. So we spoke a lot about the demand side, and I believe demand is strong. We see it as we move into September. From the front line, the assessment that we have is festive season should be good. But of course, the larger challenge for most OEs right now is the supply side, right? Managing the supply chain. Of course, one thing I would definitely want to mention, and I think today morning one of your, the other channels did put out that Pune has now become ground zero when it comes to COVID. It's even beaten the numbers in NCR. So one of the challenges, obviously, that firstly the industry faces is on the supply chain side. As far as M&M is concerned, our larger manufacturing facilities are based in Maharashtra, be it Kandivali, be it Nasik, or be it Jharkhand. So we do have some challenges when it comes to the supply chain side, but I think we've been able to manage that very, very well. There are a handful of suppliers where we continue to see certain issues, but we are ensuring that we are able to de-risk that as we go forward, given the strong demand that exists, and we definitely want to make sure that we are able to capitalize on that. And the plants are operational. We are, just to complete the cycle of, production. So one is the supply chain, which is the inward of parts from the suppliers. And when it comes to our own manufacturing facilities, we are already at almost 90% levels of where we were last year, same period. And we've done everything that we need to in all our manufacturing facilities to follow the regulations and go way beyond that in terms of safety, of our people and the workers and the officers there. So from the manufacturing side, from M&M, we are all geared up to be able to meet them.
Okay. What about the kind of launches lined up, the segments that you're looking to target now going forward? We've seen that bit of a decline in the UV market. Do you see that coming back, making a meaningful recovery?
Yeah, so, like I did mention, there are new products that have been launched. And let me talk about the Thar per se from M&M. While the official, let's say the launch and the opening of bookings is on 2nd of October, we unveiled it on 15th of August, and we've got a staggering response. The day we unveiled it, we trended nationwide amongst the top 3, with over more than 500,000 visitors to our website. For all the digital assets that we've put out there, we've had, over 3 million social engagements, over 13.5 million views of all that we've put out, and very, very encouraging conversations that are happening around the brand. So, I think one of the things is that the consumers are looking for new products, opportunities for them to look at buying new brands at great value. And Thar is one thing from our side. And of course, there are the competition too are bringing in new models. And I think that is also helping fuel demand because, if you look at the overall, and I think the numbers are a little early, but even if you look at last month, compared to the overall passenger vehicle category, the SUV segment seems to see a higher growth and, a higher demand coming out, which I think is very, very encouraging.
Absolutely. What about on the CV or the small CV front as well? What's the kind of opportunity you see there? How much does it already contribute?
Yeah, so, like I did mention earlier, we are very happy that, especially when we look at our portfolio, the small commercial vehicle business has done well, from the month of May or June. And on a cumulative basis, if I look at last month, we've shown a growth of 4% in overall commercial vehicles. And the less than 3 ton, which is what I mentioned earlier, largely required for in-city, last-mile movement of goods. That's where we've seen a good growth last month. We see good demand also coming back there. We've had a 9% growth there last month. And Bolero, as our pickup brand, has done extremely well. Now, coming back to talking a little bit in terms of where the industry is on that, clearly we see the movement of essential goods. And this is where I would say that small commercial vehicles is not a story about rural or urban India. It's an overall story that there is a demand that is clearly required when it comes to small commercial vehicles, be it urban or rural, because movement of essential goods and items is mandatory everywhere. Also, when it comes to rural, the growth in agri fuels the movement of those goods to the mandis, etc., etc. So the small commercial vehicle, especially less than the 3.5 ton, as the segment has played out well in the last 3 months, and we believe that this is going to continue to remain strong. The challenge, obviously, is more in the area of medium and heavy commercial vehicles, because that clearly is linked to the overall economy. And I think we still have some way to go. And, some of the earlier speakers were talking about that too. So I think the medium and heavy commercial vehicle segments will still need to wait it out. However, having said that, there are some green shoots there with some spends coming into infrastructure. We are clearly seeing the tipper segment in heavy commercial vehicles is playing out well, both for the category segment and for M&M, for Blazo as a brand.
All right, we'll let you go on that note. Thank you so much for taking time out, Mr. Nakra, and giving us a view as to how things are shaping up within the auto sector for the company in specific.